Sir, start he sir.
বাবু শুভ স্যার
सर
শুভুছে না
हाँ सर सुबह सर
মে আই স্টার্ট
सर टिके रोम सर एक सेकंड
ওকে
so very good evening to all, and today we are going to discuss about GHI first early India to early times to 757 AD. And in this session, we are discuss about block one, reconstructing Indian history, and particularly we are discuss about different type of sources which is responsible and helpful to reconstruct ancient Indian history. And now I invite to Dr. Trilochan Pradhan sir to start the sessions. Sir, please start the session, sir.
Good evening, everybody. My assignment with you is about reconstructing ancient Indian history. In fact, the blog is divided into three chapters: sources of historical writing, Vedic society, polity and culture, and the third one, that is Buddhism and Jainism, its principle and impact. In fact, it's a very long chapter, and generally in formal classes, we need around 20 periods to complete it. Anyhow, it is a it is an online counseling class, and I will toss all the point. I will try my best to toss all the point to complete it within the time schedule. And let us start it. Actually, we will not able to teach everything, but I would like to request the student that they should take the screenshot of all these PPT. Then they have to write down it in a note, and in that note they have to develop it for their study. Let us start it. Actually, the chapter Reconstructing Ancient Indian History is divided into three chapters. First is about the sources, and other two chapter, that is uh, our Vedic period, then the Jainism and Buddhism. It is the formative period and the beginning period of ancient Indian history. So it might have included in the first unit, and it is in the reconstructing part of the paper, what I think. But in the beginning, we will discuss about the sources of ancient Indian history. In fact, earlier we have divided, we are studying it to three chapters. We just divided it into three chapter. Our sources were earlier classified into three, that is literature, archaeological sources, literary sources, archaeological sources, and foreign accounts. But the foreign accounts are also written document. So it is very right to say the foreign account as literary sources. However, let us authentically let us divide the sources of ancient Indian history into two sections, into two categories: literary sources, that is indigenous and foreign literature. Then the second type of sources, that is archaeological sources. Archaeological sources may be divided into three, four categories. For just our understanding, let us divide it into inscription, coins, material remains, and monuments. Then, the indigenous literature may be divided into two sections: religious literature and non religious literature or secular literature. In the religious literature category, the sources are the literature are, so to say, Hindu, Buddhist, and Jaina. The main literature, Hindu literature, giving us information about history is the Vedas, then Upanishad, Puranas, and epics. These are the literature. The aims and objective of producing the literature is something other than making history. But we are getting historical information out of this religious literature. ଆମେ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଏଇ ଧର୍ମ ଗ୍ରନ୍ଥ ଗୁଡ଼ିକରୁ ସାହିତ୍ୟ ବିଷୟରେ ଜାଣୁଛୁ, ସେ ଧର୍ମଗ୍ରନ୍ଥ ଗୁଡ଼ିକ ଧର୍ମ ବିଷୟରେ ରଚନା କରାଯାଇଛି, ତାର ଉଦ୍ଦେଶ୍ୟ ଅଲଗା, କିନ୍ତୁ ସେହି ସମୟର ଇତିହାସ ବିଷୟରେ, ପ୍ରାଚୀନ ଇତିହାସ ବିଷୟରେ, ପ୍ରାଚୀନ ସମାଜ ବିଷୟରେ, ସେ ସମୟର ଚଳଣି ବିଷୟରେ ସେସବୁ ସାହିତ୍ୟରୁ ଜଣାପଡ଼େ। ହିନ୍ଦୁ କ୍ୟାଟେଗୋରୀ ଅଫ୍ ଲିଟରେଚର ସାଧାରଣତଃ ଯେଉଁଟା ଆମେ କହୁଛୁ Vedic literature, Upanishadic literature, Puranic literature, and epics. The Vedas and Upanishads are the literature created by the Aryans. They were living in a period that is known as a Vedic period. We are getting information about them from the Vedas. That is why that is the Vedic period. Society, religion, their philosophical ideas, their economic life, social formation of the Aryans known from this Vedic literature. Vedas are four in number. We know that. The Rig Veda, that is the oldest, then Yajur Veda, second one, Sam Veda, and Atharva Veda. Now come to the Puranas. Puranas are 18 in number. Purana gives us information about the genealogy of ancient period. It gives us geographical, gives us idea about the names of the king, dynasty, and different dynastical names, their religious belief, the different type of donation given by the kings during that period, their gods and goddesses, everything known from the Puranic literature. Then Purana mainly gives us information about genealogy. ବଂଶ ସେହି ସମୟରେ ଶାସନ କରିଥିବା ରାଜା ଏବଂ ଅନ୍ୟାନ୍ୟ ମାନଙ୍କର ବଂଶ ବିଷୟରେ ଜଣାପଡ଼େ, ବଂଶଲତା ବିଷୟରେ ଜଣାପଡ଼େ ସେହି ପୁରାଣରୁ। Then the epics. In India we have two famous epics written in Sanskrit, Ramayana and Mahabharata. Ramayana and Mahabharata gives us information about the ancient period of India. It is not only religious books, it gives of a number of name of the kings, their kingdoms, the people of that period, the geographical description of different regions of India we find from the epics. So epic is a source of information to know about the ancient period. Then the Buddhist literature. Buddhist literature is considered as authentic and reliable literary sources of history. Among the Buddhist sources, Dipavansha, Mahavamsa, Milinda Panno, Jatakas are famous. Let us take one of the example of the Milinda Panno. Indo-Greek king uh, Menander and his Buddhist teacher Nagasena. The conversation in between these two people is recorded in that Milinda Panno. It gives us information about the history of that period, the prevalence of Buddhism during that time, and all that. Then the Buddhist Jataka stories. These Jataka stories are not only source of, not only description about the Buddhist ideas, Buddhist information about the philosophy teachings of Buddhas, but also it gives us information about history of a particular period, where it was, where and when it was written. So it is one of the reliable literary sources to know about the history of ancient period. Then the like that the Jaina sources. Among the Jaina sources, Jaina Bhagavati Sutra, Kalpasutta Sutra, and here is a typological mistake. It is not Panisista Pasvana, it is Parisista Parvana. These are uh, famous literary sources so far as Jainism is concerned. Then, then 1 minute. Then we have secular literature. Secular literature means non-religious literature, the prose, poetry, drama written in not historical purpose, other purpose, but it gives us information about history, religion, society of ancient period. In the list, Ashtadhyayi of Panini, Mahabhasya of Patanjali, Arthashastra of Kautilya, Devi Chandragupta of Visakhadattam is famous. Let us take two examples. Arthashastra, that is not a book on economics, that is a book on polity. It gives us information about the Mauryan period, the power and function of the king, the state and economy of the Mauryan period, about the founder of the dynasty Chandragupta Maurya, the statecraft, everything known from the Arthashastra of Kautilya. Then Devi Chandragupta, it is a piece of literature written by Visakha. It gives us information about the Gupta period. It gives us information about the Chandragupta II. So apart from the religious literature, the secular literature are there. They gives us information uh, about the ancient period. Then treaties and sutras. The treaties and sutras are nothing but different type of texts. Mainly they are scientific literature. Baraha Mihira written Panchasiddhanta, Aryabhatta written Aryabhattiya, Dasa Gitika Sutra. These are astronomical works. Then Charaka Samhita of Charaka, that is a book on medical science. Though the aims and objective of the book was to describe the treatises and sutras on medicine, science, and all that, but it bears so many historical reference. That is why we are considering this literature as a source of information to reconstruct the history of the ancient period. Then, apart from the secular literature, prose, poetry, drama, and all that, we have different type of literature such as Charita, Prasasti, Bansanu Charita. These are some type of literature produced in the court, or sometimes it is sponsored by the kings, but it bears a number of historical information. In the list, Vikramanka Deva Charita of Bilhana, Harsacharita of Banabhatta. Harsacharita of Banabhatta is one of the most important source of history. It gives us information about the career and achievement of Harsavardhana. Then Godavaho, a book written by Bhagpati Raja, then Ramacharita of Sandhyakara Nandi. It gives us information about the Pala dynasty. So these are the book created by the celebrated writer. They written those books for their rulers, but it bears bunch of historical information. Now the duty of the historian is not just to collect the information from those Charita literature or Prasasti literature, but it is the duty of the historian to justify the information getting from we are getting from those sources. It is to be analyzed. It is to be proved with the help of the other sources like archaeological sources and other information what we are getting from other sources. After that, the history of that period, history of that particular aspect may be reconstructed. So these sources are just here. We have discussion of different type of sources. The sources are here to just give us information about the historical period. Now, to use those information in writing history is one of the most important tasks. And here, the task of the historian is so much important to how to use those type of sources. We cannot use all the sources uh, without examining it. After examining, the sources may be used in a proper way. That is why it is, so to say, the second part of writing history, and not just getting the information and putting those information in the books or in making history, but here here is a second stage to examine the sources and reconstruct the history of the past, where you have to, the historian has to have to use different type of sources, and that is why it is the task, it is the phase of reconstructing history. Here prasasti is also important. Historian has to very cautiously use it. Allahabad pillar inscription, otherwise known as Prayag Prasasti and Aihol Prasasti, Aihol cave inscription. Allahabad pillar inscription is written by Harisena, the war and peace minister of Chandragupta II. It gives us information about the achievement of Chandragupta. Sorry, it gives us information about the achievements of Samudragupta. But the nature of that literature or inscription is eulogical type. It is a prasasti. So here the role of historian is to be very cautious one, and historian has to the writer has to use these sources very cautiously, corroborating the information getting we are getting from the Allahabad pillar inscription is to be corroborated with other sources. Anyhow, the same type of source is that is a Prasasti literature is Aihol cave inscription, where one of the most important point that is to be noted that these are Prasasti literature but found in inscription ଏପିଗ୍ରାଫି ଏଇଗୁଡ଼ିକ ଏପିଗ୍ରାଫିକ୍ ବା ଇନସ୍କ୍ରିପସନାଲ ଲିଟରେଚର, କିନ୍ତୁ ସେଇଟା ପ୍ରଶସ୍ତି କ୍ୟାଟେଗୋରୀର। ଯେମିତି ଗୋଟେ ଆର୍କିଓଲୋଜିକାଲ ସୋର୍ସେସକୁ ସାଧାରଣତଃ ଆମେ ସାଇଣ୍ଟିଫିକ ସୋର୍ସ ହିସାବରେ ଗ୍ରହଣ କରୁ, ଏଇଟାକୁ ସାଇଣ୍ଟିଫିକ ସୋର୍ସ ହିସାବରେ ନିଆଯାଇ ପାରିବ, କିନ୍ତୁ ସେଇ ଯାହା ଇନଫର୍ମେସନ ମିଳୁଛି ସେଥିରୁ ସେଇ ଇନଫର୍ମେସନକୁ ସଠିକ ଭାବରେ ଅନୁଧ୍ୟାନ କରିବାକୁ ପଡ଼ିବ, ତାର ଅନୁଶୀଳନ କରିବାକୁ ପଡ଼ିବ, ଆନାଲିସିସ୍ କରିବାକୁ ପଡ଼ିବ, ତାପରେ ତାକୁ ୟୁଜ୍ କରିବା। ଦେନ୍ ପ୍ରଶସ୍ତି ଏବଂ ଚରିତ ମାନଙ୍କରେ ଗୁଡ଼ାଏ ଐତିହାସିକ ସୂତ୍ର ବା ଉପାଦାନ ଥାଏ, କିନ୍ତୁ ତାକୁ ସଠିକ ହିସାବରେ ବ୍ୟବହାର କରିକିରି ଇତିହାସର ପୁନର୍ଗଠନ କରାଯାଇପାରିବ। ସୋ ଦିଜ୍ ଆର୍ ସିମ୍ପଲି ନଟ୍ ଦି ସୋର୍ସେସ୍, ବଟ୍ ଦି ସୋର୍ସେସ୍ ଆର୍ ଗେଟିଂ ଫ୍ରମ୍ ଦି ଚରିତ ଆଣ୍ଡ ପ୍ରଶସ୍ତି, ବଂଶାନୁଚରିତ, ଚରିତ ଆଣ୍ଡ ପ୍ରଶସ୍ତି, ଯାହା ସ୍ପନ୍ସର୍ଡ ଲିଟରେଚର ସାଧାରଣତଃ କୋର୍ଟରୁ ପ୍ରଡ୍ୟୁସ୍ ହେଇଛି, ତାକୁ ପରୀକ୍ଷା ନିରୀକ୍ଷା କରିକି ବ୍ୟବହାର କରିବାକୁ ପଡ଼ିବ। ଦେନ୍ another important, apart from all those, in India we have also historical writing, that is the that that is the Rajatarangini of Kalhana. Though it is a traditional historical writing, the book Rajatarangini gives us information about sober history. Here, the historian Kalhana has taken the help of so many sources, say genealogy, monument, coin, inscription, contemporary literature, ସେ ସବୁ ଠାରୁ ମିଳିଥିବା ଐତିହାସିକ ଉପାଦାନକୁ ଅନୁଧ୍ୟାନ କରିକିରି ରାଜତରଙ୍ଗିଣୀ ଲେଖିଛନ୍ତି। ତେଣୁ ସାଧାରଣ ଭାବରେ ରାଜତରଙ୍ଗିଣୀଟା ପ୍ରଥମ ଏବଂ ସର୍ବଶ୍ରେଷ୍ଠ ଐତିହାସିକ ଉପାଦାନ ଥିବା ଲେଖା ବୋଲିକିରି କହିଲେ ଅତ୍ୟୁକ୍ତି ହେବ ନାହିଁ। ଯେତେବେଳେ ପ୍ରଶ୍ନ ଉଠେ whether the early Indians have idea about the writing history or not, at that time the scholars giving the name of Kalhana, that though the Puranas, epics, and literature were not written for historical purpose, here is a book, Rajatarangini. It was written for historical purpose. It bears all the parameters of the modern historical research. He had taken information from different sources of history and compiled the book Rajatarangini. So that is one of the most important work. Then, apart from Rajatarangini, there are also sources. They may, they may be considered as the historical, famous historical sources. Then, foreign literature. In foreign literature, India referred in the writings of Herodotus and Taranath. Herodotus is a Greek historian. He is considered as father of history. And Taranath is a Buddhist scholar, Buddhist chronicler. They have not visited India, but in their writing they referred about India. So their writing is also source of information for history. But ସେମାନେ ସିଧାସଳଖ ଭାବରେ ଭାରତ ବିଷୟରେ କିଛି ଲେଖି ନାହାନ୍ତି, ଭାରତ ବିଷୟରେ କିଛି ଲେଖି ନାହାନ୍ତି, କିନ୍ତୁ ଭାରତ ବିଷୟରେ ତାଙ୍କର ଲେଖାରେ ସେମାନେ ଉଲ୍ଲେଖ କରିଛନ୍ତି। So it gives us indirect reference about the history of India. Then the Greek accounts, Indica of Megasthenes, Ptolemy's geography, Pliny's natural history, and the Periplus of Erythraean Sea. It gives us information about the history of India uh, from a period of the early, from BC period to early Christian era. Megasthenes समय जो देखा जाए 3rd century BC, मोरियन पीरियड रू आरंभ करी 1st century 2nd century Christian era पर्यंत ग्रीक अकाउंट्स मानकर थाए। Then the Chinese sources. The Chinese accounts givers visited India for religious purpose to study Buddhism in India, to understand Buddhism in India. But in their accounts, they have given us a bunch of information about the history of that period. You take the example of Paihan. Paihan gives us information about the early part of the Gupta period. Then Yitsing, then Huensang. Here is a serious typological mistake. It is not Hikin, it is Hiu Ian Huensang. His book is Siyuki. Among the Chinese sources, Chinese account, Siyuki is first and foremost. It gives us vivid information about the history, culture, religion, lifestyle of the peoples of India. He visited so many places of India. Wherever he visited, he gives us account about the history of India. Apart from Buddhist, uh, apart from prevalence of Buddhism in India, about the Buddhist account, he has given a number of information, bunch of information, different vivid information, description about the history of India. Then the Persian and Arabic literature, Tahqiq I Hind of Al-Biruni, Tabakat I Nasiri of Minhajul Siraj. In the Islamic period, when the Muslim rulers were ruling India, during that time they visited India and they wrote a number of they give a number of information about the history of the then India, and these historians followed the Persian historiography, and though their purpose was not directly write about the history of India, but they had trained in Persian style of historical writing. That is why their account is important so far as reconstructing the history of India of the early medieval and medieval period. Then the second type of sources, let us don't forget it. We have divided the sources of India into two categories, two types, that is literary sources first, and literary sources later on subdivided into indigenous literature and the foreign literature. Now the archaeological sources may be divided into so many subsections like inscription, coins, material remains, etc. Material remains or monuments, etc. First category of sources, that is inscriptional sources. Inscriptional sources, it is known also epigraphic sources. In epigraphy is the study of inscription. Among the inscriptional sources, the rock edict of Asoka, Hathigumpha inscription of Kharavela. Here is typological mistake. It is Hathigumpha, Hatigumpa inscription of Kharavela, Khavela. Then the Junagadh rock inscription of Rudradaman, Bhitari pillar inscription of Skandagupta. These are these are not only four, a number of inscriptions are there. Among the inscriptions, these are famous inscriptions. This gives us information about the history of ancient period. You take the example of the rock edict of Asoka. Rock edict of Asoka is not found only in in some selected areas. The rock edict of Asoka found all over in India. It is found in different formats. ଅଶୋକଙ୍କର ଶିଳାଲେଖ ଭାରତର ସବୁଆଡ଼େ ବିଭିନ୍ନ ହିସାବରେ ଆବିଷ୍କୃତ ହୋଇ ଆସୁଛି। ପିଲରରେ, କେବ୍ ମାନଙ୍କରେ, ରକ୍ ସେଲ୍ଟରରେ ସେଇ ସବୁ ଶିଳାଲିପି ଗୁଡ଼ାକ ଦେଖିବାକୁ ମିଳୁଛି। Then in this category there are also other two what we have discussed earlier in the category of Prasasti, Allahabad pillar inscription of Samudragupta and Aihole cave inscription of Pulakesin II. But it is in the Prasasti category because these two are also sponsored literature. These two are written by their own people, so to say. The writer of Allahabad pillar inscription was Harisena, who was the minister of Samudragupta, and the writer of the Aihole cave inscription, Ravikirti, was the minister of Pulokesin II. So, the style, literally, these two are famous piece of literature. They are important for two reasons. Historically, they are famous, and as a piece of literature, also famous. But the style of description is geological. That is why it is not in the archaeological category so far as the opinion of the scholars are concerned. It is not my opinion. Then the coins. Coins gives us information about the the name of the king, the religion, the deities to whom the ruler are worshipping. It bears the name of the king, the insignia of the royal dynasty, the symbol of the royal dynasty, the name of the dynasty, and the metal gives us information about the economic standard of the dynasty. Then the style of the making of it, the making construct, the manufacturing idea, that gives us information about their knowledge on the metal work. And so far as the issue of coin in precious metal like gold and others, gold and silver, it speaks us about the economic prosperity of of that particular dynasty. So, so we have coins issued by the Mauryan ruler, that is the Mauryan coins, punch-marked coin, punch-marked coin, or that coin is punched or printed on the metals that was not regular shape and size. That means the metallurgical technology has not so much developed during that period. Then it was developed by the Kusanas and the Indo-Greek kings. So the artistical coin making technology later on developed. That is a foreign influence. Then the coin of the Gupta issued, the Gupta ruler issued a number of gold coins. It speaks about the economic prosperity of that period. Now here we have written about the Soko and Kusana coin. Soko and Kusana coin gives us information about not only the historical reference of the Soko and Kusana historical information of the Soko and Kusana period. It gives us information about the style of making of coin, artist making of artistic coin, inscribing images in the coin. So coin making of coin became a art during the period of the Soko and Kusana. They influenced the Guptas, and the coin making art developed during the period, reached to a developed stage during the Gupta period. So the coins are not only source of information so far as historical information is concerned. It gives us different type of information about the ancient period. So it is the coin is an important source of early India. The study of coin is known as numismatic. So, information about the coins is also known as numismatic information about numismatic sources or numismatic information about the ancient period. So, epigraphical sources and numismatic sources is two most important archaeological sources. Then the material remains. Material remains of the ancient period, monuments of the ancient period we find in the form of cave, pillar, viharas, stupas, monasteries, temples, images, and other sculptural work. These sculptural works, images, gives and the architecture gives us the name of the historical ruling dynasty, about the society, religion, polity of that period, the style of functioning of the government, different forms of government of that period, about the activities of the king of that period. Say, for example, the the sculpture of a particular temple gives us information about the social custom, behavior of the people, dress of the people, their hairstyle, etc. So the sculptural panels of the temples and its images, the statues, gives us information about the society, religion, economy of the ancient times. Then, apart from the temples, caves, pillars, the monuments in the form of building, palace, and fort is also important so far as the ancient, so far as the information of the past is concerned. Apart from that, the regular results of the regular archaeological excavation. It is also archaeological sources to know about the ancient period. One can take the example of Harpa and Mohenjo-daro. We know about the history of Harpa and Mohenjo-daro from the archaeological excavation. After scientific excavation, that became a monument that gives us information about the people who were living near around the river in thus during a particular period of time. So the archaeological uh, excavation is also results of the archaeological excavation is also a part of archaeological sources. Then, apart from the literary and archaeological sources, we are also getting information from the museology or museum, that is the storehouse of the monuments and other object of the ancient period, like that of the archival sources. Archival sources is also important. That is also storehouse of old manuscripts, papers, books, periodicals, etc. That is also a source of history. Now we are running short of time. Now another chapter, the Vedic age. In this chapter, we have to discuss about the Vedic society, polity, and culture. Let us discuss first why the period is known as the Vedic age or the Vedic period. We are getting information about the period from the Vedas. Vedas is the source of information to know about the Vedic period. ବେଦରୁ ଆମେ ଯେହେତୁ ସେଇ ବୈଦିକ ଯୁଗ ବିଷୟରେ ଜାଣୁଛୁ, ତେଣୁକରି ତାକୁ ବେଦିକ ପିରିୟଡ଼ ବା ବୈଦିକ ଯୁଗ ବୋଲିକରି କୁହାଯାଉଛି। ବେଦଟା ସାଧାରଣତଃ ଚାରି ଭାଗରେ ବିଭକ୍ତ: ରିଗ୍, ଯଜୁର, ସାମ ଆଣ୍ଡ ଅଥର୍ବ। ରିଗ୍ ବେଦ ହେଉଛି ସର୍ବପୁରାତନ ବେଦ, ଯେଉଁଥିରେ 1029 ହାଇମ୍ସ ଅଛି, ଶ୍ଲୋକ ଅଛି। ସେହି ଶ୍ଲୋକ ବିଭିନ୍ନ ଦେବାଦେବୀ ମାନଙ୍କୁ ସମର୍ପିତ ହେଇଛି ଏବଂ ସେହି ଶ୍ଲୋକରୁ ସେହି ସମୟର ସୋସାଇଟି, ରିଗବେଦିକ ସୋସାଇଟି, ପଲିଟି ଏବଂ ଇକୋନୋମି ଆଉ ଧର୍ମ ବିଷୟରେ ଜଣାପଡ଼େ। ଠିକ୍ ସେମିତି ଯଜୁର, ସାମ, ଅଥର୍ବ ବେଦରୁ ପରବର୍ତ୍ତୀ ବୈଦିକ ଯୁଗର ଇତିହାସ ଜଣାପଡ଼େ। ବେଦ, ଆର୍ଯ୍ୟମାନେ ବେଦ ରଚନା କରିଥିଲେ ଏବଂ ଯେଉଁ ଯୁଗଟାକୁ ଆମେ ବୈଦିକ ଯୁଗ କହୁଛୁ ସେଇଟା ଆର୍ଯ୍ୟମାନଙ୍କର ଯୁଗ। ଆର୍ଯ୍ୟମାନେ ସେଇ ଆର୍ଯ୍ୟମାନେ ହେଉଛନ୍ତି ସେଇ ଲୋକମାନେ ଯେଉଁମାନେ ବୈଦିକ ସଭ୍ୟତା ସୃଷ୍ଟି କରିଥିଲେ। ତାହେଲେ ସାଧାରଣତଃ ଭାବରେ ପ୍ରଶ୍ନ ଉଠେଇଛି, ସେ ଆର୍ଯ୍ୟମାନେ କିଏ? Who were the people? The people who created Vedic civilization were the Aryans. Now, who were the Aryans? The Aryans were the Indo-Aryan group of people. Here is a question about controversy about the original homeland of the Aryan. आर्य मानकर ओरिजिनल होमलैंड को लेकरी आर्य मानकर ओरिजिनल होमलैंड को लेकर बहुत प्रश्न उठे, कंट्रोवर्सी हुए जे आर्य माने प्रकृति रे किए। आर्य मानकर ओरिजिनल होमलैंड विषय रे अनेक गुड़े थियोरी अच्छी, जे से थियोरी मानक भितर यूरोपियन थियोरी, सेंट्रल एशियन थियोरी, आर्कटिक रीजन थियोरी, इंडियन थियोरी एवं तिबेतान थियोरी होची फेमस। आर्य माने भारतीय लोक एवं से माने सप्त सैंधव रीजन रो बोलिकरी एसी दास कहती। ठीक सही परी स्वामी डॉक्टर संपूर्णानंद एवं स्वामी दयानंद सरस्वती भी से मानू दे आर नॉट आउटसाइडर, दे आर इंडियन पीपल बोलिकरी कहती। सो there is controversy about the homeland of the Aryans, original homeland of the Aryans. But among the so many theories regarding the original homeland of the Aryan, the most accepted one is the Central Asian theory. It is propounded by Max Muller, the scholar. German scholar Max Muller had the opinion that some word of Avesta, that is the holy book of Persia, Iran, is similar to the words of the Vedas. ବେଦରେ ଯେଉଁ ଶବ୍ଦ ଗୁଡାକ ମିଳୁଛି ସେଇ ଶବ୍ଦ ଗୁଡିକ ଏଭେସ୍ତାରେ ବି ଅଛି। ତେଣୁକରି ସେ ଇଣ୍ଡିଆନ ମାନଙ୍କର ଏନସେଷ୍ଟର ଏବଂ ଇରାନିଆନ ମାନଙ୍କର ଆନସେଷ୍ଟର ସେମାନେ ଗୋଟିଏ ଷ୍ଟକର ବୋଲିକିରି କୁହନ୍ତି। ତାପରେ ସାଧାରଣ ଭାବରେ ଏମାନଙ୍କୁ ଇଣ୍ଡୋ ୟୁରୋପିଆନ ଏଥିପାଇଁ କୁହାଯାଏ ଯେ ଜର୍ମାନ, ସାଂସ୍କ୍ରିଟ, ଇରାନିଆନ ଏସବୁ ଭାଷାର ଗୋଟେ ସମ୍ପର୍କ ରହିଛି। ସୋ ଦି ପିପଲ similar in language are supposed to be connected in blood। ସେଟା ଗୋଟେ ଧାରଣା କରିକିରି ସେମାନଙ୍କୁ ଇଣ୍ଡୋ ୟୁରୋପିଆନ ଗ୍ରୁପ ଅଫ ପିପଲ ବୋଲିକିରି କୁହାଯାଏ। ତାପରେ Vedic age is divided into two periods. It is generally the division is generally to understand the period, to know the period in a better way। से पीरियड टाको सठिक भाव रे जानिबा पई, से पीरियड टाको सठिक भाव रे जानिबा पई जो सोर्स रु आमे जानू से सोर्स को आधार करिकरी वैदिक युग को साधारणतः दुई भाग रे विभक्त करा जायछि। प्राग वैदिक युग, अर्ली वैदिक एज, एंड परवर्ती वैदिक युग, दैट इज लेटर वैदिक एज। The history of the early Vedic age is known from the early Veda, that is Rig Veda, and the period of the early Vedic age is the time period of the early Vedic age is 1500 BCE to 1000 BCE. Then the time period of the later Vedic age is 1000 BCE to 700 BCE. The history of that period is known to us from the later Vedic literature, that is Jajur, Sam, Atharva. Jajur, Sam, Atharva gives us information about the society, religion, polity, economy of the later Vedic Arya. Now, the Vedic society. The Vedic society has to be understood with certain parameters. Say for example, family. Family is the basic unit of the Vedic people, basic unit of the society। केतेटा फैमिली हूँ बेसिक यूनिट फैमिली को लेकर गोटे केतेटा फैमिली को लेकर गोटे गाँ रे से सामाजिक व्यवस्था बा समाज सृष्टि होती गाँ को लेकर भीष गुड़ा को लेकर राज्य तो बेसिक यूनिट हूँ फैमिली. Let us discuss about the family. What type of family was there during that period? The family was of that period is a patriarchal family. पैतृकेंद्रिक परिवार. The senior male member of the family is the head of the family. That is patriarchal. Then another important thing of the family of the Vedic period is the joint family system. एकान्नवर्ती परिवार. That means people belong to more than one generation, 1 to 3 generation, were living under one roof, depending on one hearth. गोटे चूली को डिपेंड करी गोटे इनकम को गोटे रोषेशाला को डिपेंड करी गोटे जेनेरेशन रु अधिका लोक गोटे घरे बास करुवाटा हूँ एकान्नवर्ती परिवार और द जॉइंट फैमिली सिस्टम. The joint family system is one of the most important aspects so far as the idealistic part of the society is concerned. समाज रो श्रृंखला त्याग डिसिप्लिन आदि से परिवार शिक्षा जो मिली थाए तार बेस्ट एग्जांपल होची से जॉइंट फैमिली सिस्टम. So that the joint family system is one of the most important parameter of social parameter for the scholar to study it. जे केमती से माने एकान्नवर्ती परिवार रे गुड़ाए समय पर्यंत रही पारुथिले एवं से ट्रेडिशन टा आज पर्यंत भारत वर्ष रे अछि. Then the second parameter about the society, that is the status of the women. Women of that period were enjoying a respectable position. It is known from their participation in different social, religious and political function. से माने जो अंशग्रहण करुवा तो जना जाए अनुष्ठान मानकरू जे से मानकर पोजीशन ठीक ठाक थिला बोलिक सोसाइटी रे से मानकर पोजीशन ठीक थिला बोलिक तापरे they were well educated, they were allowed for education, they were allowed to take part in the political assembly, they were learned women, they had also contributed slokas, principles, hymns, etc., like the other scholarly people of that period. So women were not lagging behind so far as the intellectual aspect was concerned due to their education, due to their respectable position in the society. So the Gargi, Maitri, the names are very famous so far as scholarly contribution of the Vedic women. At that time there was discipline, and the discipline gives respectable position to the women. There was no parda system, there was no child marriage system, there was no sati system. The position of the women was good. They had respectable position in the society. Then another parameter so far as the society was concerned that is the society was divided into fourfold section. That is the social stratification of the society. The society was divided into 4 divisions, and that division was strictly occupational. According to duty, according to work, according to labor, so to say, the society was divided into 4 divisions or 4 burners. That is the 4 burner. Burner here are not color, but 4 class. The society was divided into 4 occupational class: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Sudras. In later part of the Vedic period, the Sudras were considered as the lower section of the society. But initially, when the fourfold division came in the early Vedic society, it was strictly occupational. ଯେତେବେଳେ ଇ ଚତୁର୍ବର୍ଣ୍ଣ ପ୍ରଥା ଆରମ୍ଭ ହେଇଛି ସେତେବେଳେ ଶ୍ରମକୁ ନେଇକରି ସେମାନଙ୍କର ସେମାନଙ୍କର ବ୍ୟବସାୟକୁ ନେଇକିରି ସେମାନଙ୍କର ବୃତ୍ତିକୁ ନେଇକିରି ଚାରି ଭାଗରେ ବିଭକ୍ତ କରାଯାଇଥିଲା ସମାଜକୁ ଏବଂ ଶୂଦ୍ରମାନଙ୍କର ଅବସ୍ଥା ସେମାନେ ସୋସାଇଟିର ଚତୁର୍ଥ ଶ୍ରେଣୀର ନଥିଲେ but they are provider and their service was respectable by all. It is found in the literature because the society gives importance to karma action and there was dignity of labor. So the Sudras were not inferior in the beginning, but in the later part of the later Vedic period, situation changed. Situation changed due to growth of population, due to due to emergence of different type of vocation, professions, and different type of service. The they got lower position in the society that we will discuss in the later part. Now, the Vedic life was very peaceful life. It is known from their dress and ornaments, different type of ornaments they were using. Both men and women were using ornaments, different type of dress they were using. They had pastime, entertainment, and amusement. Both vegetarian and non-vegetarian food were allowed in the society, prevailing in the society, but the vegetarian food was generally prescribed one, accepted one. Barley, rice, wheat, vegetables they were consuming at that time. They had drinks like milk, soma, and sura. Soma and Sura were these two type of intoxicating drinks that was generally used by the people during the time of Jagyas. Soma is a drinks manufactured from the plants and the Sura fruits and plants and Sura was from grain. So it was the, so far as Sura was concerned, the drinkers of the Sura were so considered as the lower categories of the people. But it was not generally used in the Jagyas, but the Soma was preferably used in the Jagyas. Then the Vedic polity. Family was the basic unit and the head of the family, Grihapati, was the ruler of the family, head of the family. Like that, so many family constitute a grama. The head of the grama was Gramani. So many grama constitute a Bhis. The head of the Bhis was Bhispati. Then so many Bhis became a Gopa, and many Gopa constitute a Jan, that is a Janapada, headed by a Rajan or the king. During the later Vedic period, during the later Vedic period, the kingship developed, and the in the early Vedic period, the kingship was in the formative stage. The head of a particular group, tribal group, the head of a single tribe is the Rajan or the king. And from there, the kingship developed. And the head of that particular tribe had acquainted with warfare for power and dignity. So, uh, the ability, prowess, or the military tactics was considered as a parameter so far as the kingship was concerned. And the relation between the subject and the people was through a collection of tax, that is the tribute collected by the king from the people, that was known as bali. In return, the king has to serve for his subject, and the service was nothing but giving protection and security to the people in general, and they are people in general, and they are livestock. ସେମାନଙ୍କର ଲାଇଫ ଷ୍ଟକ୍ କୁ ପ୍ରୋଟେକ୍ସନ ଏବଂ ଲୋକମାନଙ୍କୁ ପ୍ରୋଟେକ୍ସନ ଦେବାଟା ହଉଥିଲା ରାଜାର କାମ। This system of government was very simple. Senani, Purohita, and Gramani were in the helms of the administrative affairs, in the top of the administrative affairs, and the administration was supported by two Sabha, two popular assembly, Sabha and Samiti. Sabha was the smaller body, it was a cabinet type of assembly, and Samiti, that is the popular assembly, constituted of all the people. Then the culture of the period. Now, before going to the culture of the period, let us conclude the society, later Vedic society in one, two, three sentence. The situation changed in the later Vedic society. What was in the early Vedic society was not in the later Vedic society due to the growth of population. The later Vedic period expanded to a large area from the Saptasindhava region. It is extended to the Brahmavarta region, Aryavarta region. The territory became larger, the population enlarged, different type of vocation and profession emerged. So the socio-economic system became complicated, like that of the social structure. Then, then the due to the expansion of territories, the power, function, and duties of the king also enlarged. Accordingly, different new systems developed in the later Vedic period, and we came to know about the small kingdoms, existence of small kingdom in the later Vedic period. Now come to the culture of the period. The culture of the early Vedic period was so simple. It was a liberal pattern of socio-religious system, as known from their simple religion. They worship different forces of nature. The Rig Vedic gods and goddesses were generally divided into three categories: the celestial gods and goddesses like Varuna, Mitra, Pusa, Aditi. Then the aerial goddess, Akashasthanyo Devadevi, that is Bata, Indra, Rudra. Then the terrestrial gods and goddesses, or the earth goddess, that is Prithvi, Agni, Soma, Saraswati, Brihaspati. They are there are three type of deities: celestial, aerial, and terrestrial. The mode of worship was very simple. They worship for the welfare of their people and the livestock in the form of yajna. Rites and rituals were so simple. In the later Vedic period, the rituals became complicated due to the emergence of large yajnas and sacrifices. Here, the rich and influential peoples, along with the king, participated in the yajnas, and the rites and rituals of the system became complicated. There emerged the supremacy of the priest. So, the forces of nature, what the Rig Vedic people worship, later on in the later Vedic period, some important gods emerged, and rites, rituals, the pattern of worship also developed for them. With the involvement of the priest, with the coming of different type of religious scripture, shastras, etc. So Rudra Vishnu Prajapati became famous god of that period. Apart from that, later on, some female god also developed, like Prithvi, Saraswati, etc. Their power also emerged. Then, then the important aspect of the Vedic culture was the philosophical speculation of the Aryan mind. That is, the philosophical trend was developed among the Aryans. Let us take one example that the life of an individual was divided into four stages of life. Chaturasrama, that is Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasa. Accordingly, they began to think about the existence of the God. They began to ask questions on life and death. The life of sannyasi became an important life because the religion gave importance to meditation. And when meditation was given importance, the philosophical trend developed in the religion. ଯେତେବେଳେ ତପସ୍ୱୀ ମାନଙ୍କର ଆବିର୍ଭାବ ହେଲା, ଯେତେବେଳେ ଧ୍ୟାନକୁ ଇମ୍ପୋର୍ଟାନ୍ସ ଦିଆଗଲା, ସେମାନେ ଭଗବାନ, ଜୀବନ, ମୃତ୍ୟୁ, ସୃଷ୍ଟିକର୍ତ୍ତା ଇତ୍ୟାଦି ଆ, ବିଷୟରେ ପ୍ରଶ୍ନ ପଚାରିଲେ, ସେ ପ୍ରଶ୍ନର ଉତ୍ତର ଖୋଜିବା ପାଇଁ ପ୍ରୟାସ କଲେ ଏବଂ ବିଭିନ୍ନ ପ୍ରକାର ଚିରନ୍ତନ ସତ୍ୟର ଅନୁସନ୍ଧାନରେ ଜ୍ଞାନୀ ଲୋକମାନେ, ତପସ୍ୱୀ ଲୋକମାନେ ମଜ୍ଜିଗଲେ। ଫଳସ୍ୱରୂପ ଦର୍ଶନ ଶାସ୍ତ୍ରର ଆରମ୍ଭ ହେଲା। ସେମାନେ ଭଗବାନଙ୍କର ଏବଂ ମଣିଷ ଭିତରେ ଥିବା ସମ୍ପର୍କ ବିଷୟରେ ପ୍ରଶ୍ନ କଲେ, ତାର ଉତ୍ତର ଖୋଜିବାକୁ ଚେଷ୍ଟା କଲେ ଏବଂ ଅନେକ ଦାର୍ଶନିକ ତତ୍ତ୍ୱ ସେ ଭିତରୁ ବାହାରିଲା। ସେ ଦାର୍ଶନିକ ତତ୍ତ୍ୱ ସମୂହର ପରିପ୍ରକାଶ ହେଉଛି ଉପନିଷଦ। ଉପନିଷଦରେ ଇଣ୍ଡିଭିଜୁଆଲ, ସାଧାରଣ ମଣିଷ ଏବଂ ପରମାତ୍ମାର ମିଲନ କେମିତି ହେଇପାରିବ, ଆତ୍ମା ଏବଂ ବ୍ରହ୍ମର ସମ୍ପର୍କ କ'ଣ ଅଛି, ଆତ୍ମା କିଏ, ପରମାତ୍ମା କିଏ, ସୃଷ୍ଟିକର୍ତ୍ତାଙ୍କର ସହିତ କେମିତି ଆତ୍ମାର ମିଲନ ହେଇକରି ଆତ୍ମା ପରମାତ୍ମାର ସହିତ ମିଶି ପାରିବ, ସେହି ସମ୍ପର୍କରେ ସେମାନେ ଗୁଡ଼ାଏ ଆଲୋଚନା ସେଥିରେ କଲେ। ଫଳସ୍ୱରୂପ ବୈଦିକ ଯୁଗର ଶେଷ ଆଡ଼କୁ କର୍ମକୁ, ଥିଓରି ଅଫ୍ କର୍ମ ଏବଂ ରିବାର୍ଥକୁ, ପୁନର୍ଜନ୍ମକୁ ଏବଂ ସେଇ କର୍ମର ଯେଉଁ ପ୍ରଶ୍ନ, କର୍ମର ଯେଉଁ ଥିଓରି, ତାକୁ ଇମ୍ପୋର୍ଟାନ୍ସ ଦିଆଗଲା। ଫଳସ୍ୱରୂପ ଗୁଡ଼ିଏ ନୂଆ ଜିନିଷ ବାହାରିଲା, ନୀତି ନିୟମ ବାହାରିଲା, ଯେଉଁମାନେ ଗୋଟେ ଆଦର୍ଶଗତ ସମାଜ ସୃଷ୍ଟି କରିବାରେ ସାହାଯ୍ୟ କଲେ। ତ ଋଷି ତପସ୍ୱୀ ମାନଙ୍କର ଧ୍ୟାନ, ତାଙ୍କର ଆଧ୍ୟାତ୍ମିକ ଦର୍ଶନ, ତାଙ୍କର ଫିଲୋସଫିକାଲ ସ୍ପେକୁଲେସନ ବୈଦିକ ଯୁଗକୁ ଏକ ମହାନ ଯୁଗରେ ପରିଣତ କରିଦେଲା। ମହାନ ସାଂସ୍କୃତିକ ବିଚାରଧାରା, ସାଂସ୍କୃତିକ ଯୁଗ, ସାଂସ୍କୃତିକ ଅଧ୍ୟାୟର ଆରମ୍ଭ ହେଲା, ଯେଉଁଠି ଆତ୍ମାକୁ, କର୍ମକୁ, ମୁଖ୍ୟ ମାର୍ଗକୁ ଇମ୍ପୋର୍ଟାନ୍ସ ଦିଆଗଲା ଏବଂ ସେହି ସମୟର ଋଷିମୁନିମାନେ, ସେହି ସମୟର ଯେଉଁମାନେ ଫିଲୋସଫିକାଲ ଟ୍ରେଣ୍ଡ ଡେଭଲପ କରିଥିଲେ, ସେଥିରେ ସେମାନେ ଆତ୍ମାର ପରିଚୟ ବିଷୟରେ, କର୍ମ ମାର୍ଗ ବିଷୟରେ, ମୋକ୍ଷ ପ୍ରାପ୍ତିର ମାର୍ଗ ବିଷୟରେ ଲୋକମାନଙ୍କୁ ସୂଚିତ କଲେ ଏବଂ ଦର୍ଶନ ଶାସ୍ତ୍ର ସେହି ସମୟର ସଂସ୍କୃତିକୁ ନୂତନ ଦିଗ ଦର୍ଶନ ଦେଇଥିଲା। ତାପରେ ଆମେ ପରବର୍ତ୍ତୀ ପର୍ଯ୍ୟାୟକୁ ଯିବା, ସେଇଟା ହେଉଛି ବୁଦ୍ଧିଜମ ଏବଂ ଜୈନିଜମ। ସାଧାରଣ ଭାବରେ ଏଇ ତିନିଟା ବିଷୟକୁ ପଢ଼ିବା ପାଇଁ ଆମକୁ ପ୍ରାୟ 10ରୁ 15ଟି ସମ୍ପୂର୍ଣ୍ଣ 50-60 ମିନିଟର 10ଟି 15ଟି ଶ୍ରେଣୀ ବା କ୍ଲାସର ଆବଶ୍ୟକ ହୁଏ ସମୟର ସ୍ୱଳ୍ପତା ଦୃଷ୍ଟିରୁ। ଏବଂ ଏଇଟା ଯେହେତୁ କେବଳ ଗୋଟେ କାଉନସେଲିଂ ସେସନ୍, ଆମେ କେବଳ ସବୁ ଯାକ ପଏଣ୍ଟକୁ ଟଚ୍ କରିବା ପାଇଁ ଚେଷ୍ଟା କରୁଛୁ। ପରବର୍ତ୍ତୀ ଆମର ଚ୍ୟାପ୍ଟର ରହୁଛି ବୁଦ୍ଧିଜମ ଏବଂ ଜୈନିଜମ। ଏଇଟା ଥାର୍ଡ ବା ଶେଷ ପର୍ଯ୍ୟାୟର ଶେଷ ଚ୍ୟାପ୍ଟର ଆଜିକା ପାଇଁ। ତ ବୁଦ୍ଧିଜମ ଏବଂ ଜୈନିଜମ এইটা দুইটা সাধাରଣ ଭାବରେ এইଟା ଦୁଇଟି ଧର୍ମ ବୋଲିକିରି ଆମେ ଗ୍ରହଣ କରୁ, କିନ୍ତୁ ପ୍ରକୃତରେ 6th ସେଞ୍ଚୁରୀ ବିସିରେ ଯେଉଁ ସୋସିଓ ରିଲିଜିୟସ୍ ରିଫର୍ମ ମୁଭମେଣ୍ଟ ହେଇଥିଲା, ସେଇ ସୋସିଓ ରିଲିଜିୟସ୍ ରିଫର୍ମ ମୁଭମେଣ୍ଟର ଆଉଟକମ୍ ହେଉଛି ବୁଦ୍ଧିଜମ ଏବଂ ଜୈନିଜମ। ବୁଦ୍ଧିଜମ ଏବଂ ଜୈନିଜମର ଓରିଜିନ୍ ପାଇଁ ଯେଉଁ ଘଟଣାକ୍ରମ ଦାୟୀ ଥିଲା ସେଟା ହେଉଛି ସୋସିଓ ରିଲିଜିୟସ୍ ରିଫର୍ମ ମୁଭମେଣ୍ଟ। ସୋସିଓ ରିଲିଜିୟସ୍ ରିଫର୍ମ ମୁଭମେଣ୍ଟ 6th ସେଞ୍ଚୁରୀ ବିସିର ଷଷ୍ଠ ଶତାବ୍ଦୀରେ ଯେଉଁ ସାମାଜିକ ଏବଂ ଧାର୍ମିକ ସଂସ୍କାର ଆନ୍ଦୋଳନ ହେଇଥିଲା, ଧାର୍ମିକ ସଂସ୍କାର ଆନ୍ଦୋଳନ ହେଇଥିଲା ସାଧାରଣ ଭାବରେ ସେହି ସମୟରେ ପ୍ରଚଳିତ ଥିବା ସାମାଜିକ ଏବଂ ସାମାଜିକ ଏବଂ ଧାର୍ମିକ ବ୍ୟବସ୍ଥାର ଯାହା ଯାହା ଡିଫିକଲ୍ଟିଜ୍ ଥିଲା, ଯାହା ଯାହା ଇଭିଲ୍ସ ଥିଲା, ସମାଜର ଏବଂ ଧର୍ମର ଆବିଳତା ବିରୁଦ୍ଧରେ ଯୋଉଟା ଲୋକମାନେ ଚାହୁଁନଥିଲେ ତାର ବିରୁଦ୍ଧରେ ଯେଉଁ ଆନ୍ଦୋଳନ ହେଇଥିଲା, ଯେଉଁ ସଂସ୍କାର ଲୋକମାନେ ଦାବି କରିଥିଲେ, ସେଇ ସଂସ୍କାରର ଫଳସ୍ୱରୂପ ପରବର୍ତ୍ତୀ ପର୍ଯ୍ୟାୟରେ ମହାବୀର ଏବଂ ଗୌତମ ଦୁଇଟା ନୂଆ ପନ୍ଥା ଆରମ୍ଭ କଲେ। ମହାବୀର and ଗୌତମ started two new order as a result of that socio-religious reform movement। ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ ପ୍ରଶ୍ନ ଉଠୁଛି ଯେ ସୋସିଓ ରିଲିଜିୟସ୍ ରିଫର୍ମ ମୁଭମେଣ୍ଟରେ ଯେଉଁ ଦୁଇଟା ଧର୍ମ ମହାବୀର ଏବଂ ଗୌତମ ଆରମ୍ଭ କଲେ, ସେମାନେ କେବଳ ସେଇ ସୋସିଓ ରିଲିଜିୟସ୍ ରିଫର୍ମ ମୁଭମେଣ୍ଟ ପ୍ରବକ୍ତା ଥିଲେ କି? ତାଙ୍କ ବ୍ୟତୀତ ଆହୁରି ବି କିଛି ପ୍ରବକ୍ତା ଅଛନ୍ତି ଯେଉଁମାନେ ସେ ସମୟର ଏକ୍ଜିଷ୍ଟିଂ ସୋସିଓ ରିଲିଜିୟସ୍ ଇଭିଲ୍ସ ବିରୁଦ୍ଧରେ ସ୍ୱର ଉତ୍ତୋଳନ କରିଥିଲେ। ସେମାନଙ୍କ ମଧ୍ୟରେ 3-4ଟି ବ୍ୟକ୍ତି ବିଶେଷଙ୍କ ପରିଚୟ ଦେବା ନିହାତି ଦରକାର। The evils of the existing system was challenged by Kapila, Makali Gosala, Ajita Kesak Balin, ପାକୁଦ କାଚାୟନ। ଏମାନଙ୍କ ମଧ୍ୟରୁ ମାଖଲି ଗୋସଲ ହେଉଛନ୍ତି ଟିକେ ଅଧିକ ପ୍ରସିଦ୍ଧି ଲାଭ କରିଥିବା ଜଣେ ଧାର୍ମିକ ପ୍ରବକ୍ତା। ମହାବୀର ଏବଂ ଗୌତମଙ୍କ ଭଳି ଏମାନେ ସମସ୍ତେ ବିକଳ୍ପ ମାର୍ଗ ବିଷୟରେ କହିଥିଲେ। ତା ମାନେ ସେହି ସମୟରେ ଥିବା ଧାର୍ମିକ ଏବଂ ସାମାଜିକ କୁସଂସ୍କାର, ଜାତି ପ୍ରଥା, priestly domination, complicated rites and rituals, inequality ବିରୁଦ୍ଧରେ ସେମାନେ ମଧ୍ୟ ସ୍ୱର ଉତ୍ତୋଳନ କରିଥିଲେ। କିନ୍ତୁ ମହାବୀର ଏବଂ ଗୌତମ ତାଙ୍କର ବଂଶ ପରମ୍ପରା, ତାଙ୍କ ପାଖରେ ଯେଉଁ ସୋସିଓ ପଲିଟିକାଲ ପାୱାର ଥିଲା, ସେ ସୋସିଓ ପଲିଟିକାଲ ପାୱାରକୁ ବ୍ୟବହାର କରିକି ଦୁଇଟା ଅର୍ଡର ସୃଷ୍ଟି କରିପାରିଲେ। ଏବଂ ଅନ୍ୟାନ୍ୟ କାରଣରୁ, ବହୁତ ଗୁଡ଼ାଏ କାରଣରୁ କପିଲ, ମାକଲି ଗୋସାଲ, କେଶକ କମ୍ବଲିନ ଏମାନେ ସଫଳ ହୋଇପାରିନଥିଲେ। ମହାବୀର ଏବଂ ଗୌତମ ସଫଳ ହେଇଥିଲେ। ଆଜୀବିକ ସେକ୍ଟର ପ୍ରବକ୍ତା ହେଉଛନ୍ତି ମାକଲି ଗୋସଲ। ସେ ସାଧାରଣତଃ ସେ ସମୟରେ ବେଶୀ ପ୍ରସିଦ୍ଧି ଲାଭ କରିଥିଲେ ଏବଂ ତାଙ୍କର କିଛି ପ୍ରଭାବ ମହାବୀର ଏବଂ ଗୌତମକୁ ପଡ଼ିଥିଲା। ଗୌତମ ବୁଦ୍ଧ ହେଉଛନ୍ତି ବୌଦ୍ଧ ଧର୍ମର ପ୍ରତିଷ୍ଠାତା, ଫାଉଣ୍ଡର ଅଫ ବୁଦ୍ଧିଜମ। His time period was 566 BCE to 486 BCE. He learned meditation and Upanishad from a scholar named Adara when he left home। ସେ ଗୃହ ତ୍ୟାଗୀ ହେବା ବି ଗୋଟେ ପ୍ରସିଦ୍ଧ କାରଣ ରହିଛି, ପ୍ରସିଦ୍ଧ ଘଟଣାକ୍ରମ ରହିଛି। ତାଙ୍କର ଜୀବନୀ ବିଷୟରେ ଆମେ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଅଧ୍ୟୟନ କରୁ, ସେଟା ମହାପରିତ୍ୟାଗ, ଗ୍ରେଟ୍ ରୁନିନ୍ସିଏସନ୍ ବୋଲିକିରି କୁହାଯାଏ। ତାଙ୍କ ପାଖରେ ସବୁ ଥିଲା, ପ୍ରାଚୁର୍ଯ୍ୟ ଥିଲା, ସବୁ ରକମର ସୁବିଧା ସୁଯୋଗ ଥିଲା, କିନ୍ତୁ ସମାଜ, ଧର୍ମ, ମୃତ୍ୟୁ, ଭଗବାନ, ପୁନର୍ଜନ୍ମ ଇତ୍ୟାଦି ବିଷୟରେ ଯେଉଁ ନିଗୁଡ଼ ପ୍ରଶ୍ନ ଗୁଡ଼ିକର ଉତ୍ତର ସେ ଚାହୁଁଥିଲେ, ତେଣୁକରି ସେ ସନ୍ନ୍ୟାସୀ ହେଇଗଲେ। ତାପରେ ସେ ଅଦର କଲମଙ୍କୁ ଗୁରୁ ବୋଲି ମାନିଲେ। ତାଙ୍କଠାରୁ ମେଡିଟେସନ ଏବଂ ଉପନିଷଦ ଶିଖିଲେ। ନିରଞ୍ଜନା ନଦୀ କୂଳରେ ଉରୁବେଲା ନାମକ ସ୍ଥାନରେ ସେଟା ମଡର୍ନ ବୌଦ୍ଧ ଗୟାରେ ଅଛି। ସେଠି ସେ ମେଡିଟେସନ ବସିଲେ। ପ୍ରାୟ 49 ଦିନର ମେଡିଟେସନ ପରେ after the meditation of 49 days, he attained supreme knowledge. Later on, he known as the Buddha, the person, the wise person, the person who knows, who attained the supreme knowledge, the enlightened person is the Buddha. That means he got the answer of all the questions what he was asking to so many peoples. That means he, Gautama Buddha, got the path for attainment of salvation. He got the knowledge. With that knowledge, he can able to show the path for attainment of salvation. ସେ ଯୋଉ ପ୍ରଶ୍ନର ଉତ୍ତର ଖୋଜୁଥିଲେ, ମୃତ୍ୟୁ ପରେ ମଣିଷ କ'ଣ ହୁଏ, ପୁନର୍ଜନ୍ମ କାହିଁକି ହୁଏ ଇତ୍ୟାଦି ପ୍ରଶ୍ନ, ଏବଂ ମଣିଷର ମୋକ୍ଷ ପ୍ରାପ୍ତି କେମିତି ହେଇପାରିବ, ଯେମିତି ଆଗରୁ ଉପନିଷଦରେ କୁହାଯାଇଛି, ଦର୍ଶନ ଶାସ୍ତ୍ରରେ କୁହାଯାଇଛି ଯେ ମଣିଷ ଜୀବନର ଲକ୍ଷ୍ୟ ହେଉଛି ମୋକ୍ଷ ପ୍ରାପ୍ତି ହେବାଟା। ତ ମୋକ୍ଷ ପ୍ରାପ୍ତି ପାଇଁ ଗୋଟିଏ ମାର୍ଗ ଥିଲା। ସବୁଠାରୁ ସହଜ ଏବଂ ପ୍ରକୃଷ୍ଟ ମାର୍ଗ କ'ଣ, ସେ ବିଷୟରେ ଗୌତମ ବୁଦ୍ଧଙ୍କର ଜ୍ଞାନ ପ୍ରାପ୍ତି ହେଲା। ତାପରେ ସେ ଜ୍ଞାନ ଯାହା ତାଙ୍କର ଜ୍ଞାନ ପ୍ରାପ୍ତି ହେଇଥିଲା ତାର ପ୍ରଚାର ପାଇଁ ଡିଅର ପାର୍କ, ସାରନାଥର ଡିଅର ପାର୍କରେ ସେ ବସିଲେ। ପ୍ରଥମେ 5 ଜଣ ଶିଷ୍ୟଙ୍କୁ ସେ ତାଙ୍କର ପ୍ରବଚନ ଦେଲେ, ତାଙ୍କର ଧର୍ମରେ ଦୀକ୍ଷିତ କଲେ। ସେହି ଘଟଣାଟାକୁ ଧର୍ମଚକ୍ର ପ୍ରବର୍ତ୍ତନ କୁହାଯାଏ। ଧର୍ମଚକ୍ର ପ୍ରବର୍ତ୍ତନର ଯୋଉ ଅର୍ଥ ଅଛି, ସେଇ ଅର୍ଥ ଆମକୁ ଅବଗତ ହେବାର ଆବଶ୍ୟକତା ରହିଛି। ହ୍ୱାଟ ଇଜ ଦ୍ୟାଟ୍ ଧର୍ମଚକ୍ର ପ୍ରବର୍ତ୍ତନ? ଟ୍ୟୁନିଂ ଦି ହୁଇଲ୍ ଅଫ୍ ଦି ଲଜ୍, that is about the journey from the suffering stages of rebirth to a stage where there is no rebirth, that is the attainment of salvation or attainment of moksha. ତ ଚକ୍ର କେମିତି ଘୁରିବ? ଯେ ଗୋଟେ ଜନ୍ମ, ମୃତ୍ୟୁ, ଦୁଃଖ, କଷ୍ଟ ଇତ୍ୟାଦି ପାର୍ଥିବ ଜିନିଷରୁ ମୁକ୍ତି ଆଡ଼କୁ ଯୋଉ ଯିବାର ରାସ୍ତା, ସେଟା ହେଉଛି ଧର୍ମଚକ୍ର ପରିବର୍ତ୍ତନ। In that way that can be explained. Anyhow, there is principles of Buddhism, and the principle of Buddhism may be enumerated, may be described in the following points: that the 4 noble truths, Chatur Arya Satyani, first, second, third, fourth. First one is the life is full of sorrow, the cause of sorrow, the path of sorrows, and the remedies of sorrow. The cause is the desire, the end of desire, the path for the end of the desire, and the path itself. That is the 4 noble truths, very roughly speaking. Chatur Arya Satyani. Then the eightfold path. Right meditation, right livelihood, these are the 8 paths. So it is in our self-learning material itself. I am not taking the name of that 8 path. It is very simple thing. Right meditation is important. Right exercise is there. Right aim is there. Right speech is there. Right livelihood is there. Right exercise is there. Right memory is there. Anyhow, then he advocated about the law of karma. One has to perform good karma for the attainment of salvation. If good karma is there, there is no path. If there is evil karma, rebirth is a must. That is the theory of karma. Then the nirvana. Nirvana is is a stage where there is no suffering, no rebirth, a stage of is a state of peace, bliss, and accomplishment. ସେଇଟା ମୋକ୍ଷ ମାର୍ଗ, ଆନନ୍ଦର ମାର୍ଗ, ସେଥିରେ କୌଣସି ସମସ୍ୟା ନଥିବ, ମଣିଷ ଚିରନ୍ତନ ଆନନ୍ଦ ଉପଭୋଗ କରୁଥିବ, ତାର ମୁକ୍ତି, ତାର ନିର୍ବାଣ, ତାର ମୋକ୍ଷର ଷ୍ଟେଜ ହେଉଛି ନିର୍ବାଣ। ତ ମୋକ୍ଷ କେମିତି ପ୍ରାପ୍ତ ହେଇପାରିବ? ଯଦି ସେ ଫୋର୍ ନୋବେଲ ଟ୍ରୁଥ ଗ୍ରହଣ କରିବ, ଏଇଟ୍ ଫୋଲ୍ଡ ପାଥ ଗ୍ରହଣ କରିବ, ସେ କର୍ମ ମାର୍ଗକୁ ବୁଝିବ, ତାପରେ ଯେଉଁ ପ୍ରେସ୍କ୍ରାଇବ୍ ରୁଲ୍ସ ରେଗୁଲେସନ୍ ଅଛି, କ'ଣ ପ୍ରେସ୍କ୍ରାଇବ୍ ରୁଲ୍ସ ରେଗୁଲେସନ୍? One has to adopt moral principles, one has to abide good virtues like peace, love, charity, kindness, etc. That is the middle path. That is the middle path or the golden mean. What is middle path and what is golden mean? Let me explain in two sentences. The middle path is a simple path that is easy to be maintained by all individual. That is maintaining of eightfold path, acceptance of the law of karma, thinking about the salvation, having uh, moral principle, good virtues. Then Gautama Buddha laid emphasis on individual responsibility to attain nirvana. He said, Atmo Dipo Bhava, be the light for yourself. That means the man is the maker of his own destiny. No priest, no scripture, no literature, no temples, no image is required. What is required? A simple code of conduct. And the person himself is to abide, himself is to practice the middle path. And no guru, no teacher, no priest, no ritual can help him, can do it for him. They can help him, but they cannot do all these things on behalf of that individual. That means the individual himself is to practice the principles, the middle path or the code of conduct. So, in Buddhism, the attainment of salvation, nirvana, is very simple. The individual himself is required to practice some code of conduct for the attainment of nirvana or moksha. Then, Jainism. We have around 10 minutes left for our discussion. Uh, and within 10 minutes, I have to finish this one. And we are touching the points only. We are not um, able to describe the points in a better manner due to shortage of time. Anyhow, Jainism. Jainism is a religion that is also outcome of the socio-religious reform movement of 6th century BC. What is the origin of Jainism? That is also the factor responsible for the uh, origin of Buddhism. So I am sorry, Buddhism originated from the socio-religious reform movement like that of Jainism. But Jainism is developed by 24 Tirthankaras. The Jainas believe in 24 Tirthankara as the religion is developed by 24 teachers. And Mahavira was 24th one. Before him, there were 23rd Tirthankaras. The 23rd Tirthankara and 24th Tirthankaras are considered as most historical personality let us discuss about Parshvanath. Parshvanath was 23rd Tirthankaras. The parents of Mahavira were the follower of Parshvanath. Parshvanath advocated mainly four principles: truthfulness, non-stealing, non-possessions, and ahimsa, non-violence. His followers were known as Svetambaras, who covered their bodies on the white clothes. Mahavira added fifth principle in the fourth principle of Parshvanath. ପାର୍ଶ୍ୱନାଥଙ୍କର ଯୋଉ ଚାରିଟା ପ୍ରିନ୍ସିପଲ ସେ ଚାରିଟା ପ୍ରିନ୍ସିପଲରେ ମହାବୀର 5 ନମ୍ବରଟା ଆଡ୍ କରିଥିଲେ ମହାବୀର was 24 ତୀର୍ଥଙ୍କର which fifth principle he added, let's see. Due to the adding of that fifth principle, the religion what Mahavira advocated was different from Parshvanath. Then the religion of Jainism became extreme one. In fifth principle, in the fourth 1, 2, 3, 4 of Parshvanath, he added fifth one. Then it became Pancha Mahabrata of Jainism, the fivefold principles of Jainism. That was Brahmacharya or celibacy. In so far as that principle was concerned, Mahavira was so strict. Accordingly, he advised his followers to abandon clothes. That is an example of the acceptance of extreme path. ଚରମ ମାର୍ଗର ଗୋଟେ ସେଟା ନିଦର୍ଶନ ପାର୍ଶ୍ୱନାଥଙ୍କର ଫଲୋୟର ମାନେ ଶ୍ଵେତାମ୍ବର କିନ୍ତୁ ମହାବୀରଙ୍କର ଫଲୋୟର ମାନେ ହଉଛନ୍ତି ଦିଗମ୍ବର. Complete abandonment of clothes. That means he gave no importance to body. He so strictly advises people to so strictly advise the principles of brahmacharya that then there must not be required of the clothes to cover the body. And here he added the principle of brahmacharya or celibacy in the principles of Parshvanath. That it constitute the fivefold principle of Jainism, that is Pancha Mahabrata of Jainism. Pancha Mahabrata of Jainism of the fivefold principle are nothing but truthfulness, ahimsa, non-stealing, non-possession, and brahmacharya. And the second important principle of Jainism was Triratna. Triratna is like that of the middle path, the code of conduct what Gautama advocated for the attainment of nirvana. It is the Triratna constitute of three principles, only three principles: right faith, right knowledge, and right action. For the attainment of goal, one has to practice this principle: faith on the religion, knowledge on the religion, and right action for performing the code of conduct. In a very strict way, he advises he advises disciples to practice it in a very strict way. He believed in extreme path. That is why the Jainas advise his followers, the Jaina teachers advise their followers to practice penance till death. Penance till death. So, starvation to death, starve to death is a principle in Jainism. Now, here is the difference between Buddhism and Jainism. Buddhism advocated about simple path, middle code of conduct, while Jainism advocated about the extreme path. And the other principle of Jainism is similar to that Buddhism so far as the moral code of conduct, good virtues, importance to ahimsas, and all that. Now, in the last part of the topic, last part of the lecture and last part of the third topic, that is impact of Jainism and Buddhism. Though we are discussing the impact of Jainism and Buddhism in a few points, so far as the question answer part is concerned, this part is important. One can find a number of questions from the impact or significance of Jainism and Buddhism. Now, which are these questions? Say, for example, the significance of Jainism, significance of Buddhism, contribution of Jainism and Buddhism to culture, what is the significance of Buddhism to culture, what is the significance of Jainism to polity, what is the significance of Buddhism to other religion, and all that. Let us have a discussion on it. That is, the idea of social equality was advocated by both Jainism and Buddhism. They gave importance to social equality. Both the Buddhists and the Jainas were against the caste system. They incorporated both men and women in their religion. That means the principle of equality they adopted here. Then they gave no importance to the priest and the Brahmin. That means the idea of social equality they promoted. They pleaded for the casteless society. They gave no importance to the priest. They gave importance to individual. Individual himself is responsible for his own salvation, for attainment of salvation. So it is not only a liberal principle, it is also a democratic principle so far as the principle of equality is concerned. Then they advocated a simple path. There is no need of rituals, there is no need of any sacrifices, yajnas, etc. No need of idol, no need of priest, no need of temples, and etc. The individual himself is sufficient for attainment of his own salvation. How it is possible? It is possible through the observance of simple code of conduct. Gautama advocated about the eightfold path, moral and ethical principle. Mahavira advocated about Tiratana, ethical principle, and other good virtues and all that, so far as the attainment of salvation is concerned. So, for the first time, this religion is far away from the complicated path for attainment of salvation. It advocated about a simple path. The first one is equality and the liberal principle. They advocated. The second one is about a simple path and giving importance to individual. Then they advocated their religion in the language of the people. Pali, Prakrit, or the Magadhi. The vernacular language became popular. They advocated the popular language. So, it was their contribution that vernacular literature developed. The principle of ahimsa, public welfare, ethical codes of conduct, ethical codes and moral principle, these are the principles advocated by the Jainas and the Buddhists for the benefit of the society. The society became, the social principle, code of conduct became enriched. It enriched the culture of the region due to this type of principle. Then the art and architecture, development of art and architecture. The construction, the monasteries, stupas, viharas, and all that, they are nothing but the art treasures of India that was developed due to the growth of this Jainism and Buddhism. Then the it also the literature they produce also developed the historical material of the country, then the missionary activities and the mission of the Jainas and Buddhists for spread of their religion help in cultural exchange, help in historical exchange of the ideas. People of one region came in contact with the people of one country, one region, and all that. It helped in the growth of trade and commerce and all. So, both the Buddhism and Jainism had great impact on the contribution impact on the then society. They served in a better way the the people of that period, and the contribution of the religion was was very valuable so far as the growth of Indian culture, their contribution to Indian culture, art, archaeology, religion, architecture is concerned. Now, this is the end of the class. Now, I thanks all for a patience hearing with a limited period of time. I tried my level best to simply toss the points what you need for your examination. Thank you. Thank you all.